Hey everyone, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. So today I'm sitting here watering orchids, and I figured I'd do a quick video basically on how you can tell if your orchid needs to be repotted, and also how often should you repot. The main thing is that, and today we're talking about Phalenopsis orchids. So we're talking about anything with a main stem. So we're looking at the monopodial growth. We have a main stem, which I talk about often, and the roots come out of the base. Now, what happens is as the orchid grows, lower leaves will drop off. So you can see these layers that build up, and the stalk ends up getting longer and longer and longer. And roots should continue to grow to support the orchid. Well, what happens is this neck can get very, very long. Eventually you have your orchid like way up here, and your roots are like long and trying to reach out and offer support to the orchid. So it's a good idea to continually repot as you see this neck forming. So this orchid is going to need repotting, and I'm just going to wait till she's done blooming, and I'll get her repotted in probably the next month or two. Also, your medium starts to break down. So if you have whatever you have in the pot, if it's bark or fur or perlite and sphagnum, all of this starts to break down. It starts to decay. It starts to leach acids all throughout the pot, which isn't very good for the orchid. An orchid wants a pH balanced around 6.0, almost neutral, just slightly acidic, and the breakdown will make this more and more acidic, and it won't be a very good environment for the orchid anymore, and eventually can lead to attracting pests and diseases and all sorts of issues if the orchid is not in its primal health. So we want to refresh orchid mix about every 3 years as a general rule. Of course, monitor your orchids individually, and if one just seems to have media breaking down a little bit faster than another, then definitely repot that one a little sooner. I do like to put some charcoal chunks here and there. It's not going to be a save all. It's not really going to keep everything lasting much longer than normal. I just do it to help keep freshening things. It does help with some bugs, the bugs, the gnats that get attracted to the bark, things like that. So make sure you're repotting to keep things fresh. Also, like I'm looking at this one, and I have a lot of algae growth in the sphagnum moss. Algae is like a bittersweet issue, because it does mean that your orchid is in very good growing conditions. Everything's staying wet, moist pretty consistently. The orchid is happy, the media is happy. If it's happy, then the algae is happy. The algae is finding a good place to call home as well. So it is a good sign that your orchid is doing well. However, you don't really want the algae, although it's very difficult to completely avoid, because water and sunlight is going to grow algae. So when you're getting optimal lighting conditions, your algae is going to grow. So the best way to get rid of this is either A, not have sphagnum moss, which isn't an option for me because my environment gets too dry in the colder seasons, or 2, put it in darkness for a little while, try to kill off the algae that way, but not so long that it's going to hurt the orchid. Or 3, use a mix of hydrogen peroxide in your water at like a 1-to-3 ratio, 1 part peroxide, 3 parts water. Kind of spritz it all in there and try to kill off the algae that way. So I have to do that with this pot today because there's quite a bit in there. Algae will also attract fungus gnats, so it's definitely a good thing to get it out of there. If I can't get rid of the algae, then I'm just going to have to pull out all of the sphagnum moss and refresh it and try to keep it under control better the next time around. So there's another reason that you might have to repot an orchid. And so there are different reasons. You just want to evaluate all of your orchids on a personal level. Make sure everybody's doing well. Root rot, it would be another reason to repot if your roots are not doing well. Maybe you have, maybe it's potted wrong, and maybe you have too much sphagnum moss in there for a humid environment and your roots are starting to rot. That would be another good reason to have to get in there and repot. Get some more drying media in there that would provide more airflow. Or vice versa, maybe you're too dry and your orchid is only sitting in fir bark and not retaining enough moisture, so you might need some more sphagnum moss in there or whatever else would help to provide a little bit more moisture for a longer bit of time between waterings. So there are different reasons to have to repot, but the main one is definitely the growth of the orchid and refreshing the mix. So with all of that in mind, I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.